Well, hello. It's me here for you in workshop 2. So, what is the mission of today? Well, the mission is to empower you to blossom into who you are, who you can be. If you'd had a secure, loving, attached base, things would be so different. So I want to share with you how things have impacted you, because if you're filled up with all sorts of stuff from the past, it's kind of like, triggers, layers of triggers inside of you, and you just go, I just want to be happy and peaceful. You've got all of this like landmines underneath. So we need to understand all of this so that we can clear it, and then you can become who you are. So we want to root out all this toxic past and fertilize the richness of our psyche so we could grow into who we were meant to be had we had secure, loving, attached childhoods. So before we begin with that, I want to hear from you in the comments. Remember, if you post here in the comments, it goes public. So only post in the comments if you're happy to be public, because I want to honor hi Jessica, I want to honor your confidentiality. So some people are happy to post publicly. I'm just typing in the comments questions, and you can go and post there, and I will get that thread up. Let me just go onto this computer and get it up so that I can see if there are any questions. Then I can come to this page and I will get it up for you. So because I'm going live on StreamYard, I have to use 2 computers, because when I'm sharing the screen on this and I can't see, if I go onto the screen, then I'll share my screen, and Home for Restoring Love is private. So I don't want anybody seeing the screen. So I need another screen so that I can see. Oh man, I spelled that wrong. Let me just get the question thread up, and then I will be able to see the questions that you have for me. Okay, I've got it up there now. So if at any point you want to ask me something that you don't want to share publicly, then please go into the thread. So exactly, Jessica. I want everybody to feel comfortable, loved, and safe. So, yeah. All right. So let's see where we are at. So I wanted to ask you first about your love work from the last 2 days. There were 2 things. One, see a comment that you had in childhood that impacted your self-worth. Share how it felt. And most importantly, empathize with yourself. And I created a video on empathy because a lot of people struggled with that bit. Like, they could share what happened. Some people could share how it felt, but very few people could empathize. Folk who've worked with me could empathize quite well because they're used to and they're in practice of doing that with themselves and each other. It's a huge skill in growing your own self-worth, because you need this loving witness that goes, nah, that wasn't okay, for you to go, oh, it's not me that's bad, it's that wasn't all right. But it's left me with this stinky, ill feeling that makes me think that I'm the one that's bad. So you need to develop that within yourself. So that's why I really want you to focus on learning this skill of empathy. Then on the other side of that, we did ask friends or family what they like and value about you. So I want to hear from you. How have those 2 gone? You can either share, if you scroll up on the thing, maybe I can put it as a banner. Let's see if I've got it as a banner here. And then I'm sure that I made a banner for it yesterday. Okay, let me just quickly, okay. So if I edit this, then it will have I'm just going to give you the question thread so that anybody coming on after I've started is able to get the private questions. Let's see if that works. All right, it might be a bit long because it's got the link to sign up. All right, let's save that and see. Tell me if this is too long. Does it just go on forever? It might be too long. Let's see if I can put a few gaps in that. Okay, let's see, does that work? All right, so you can see the question thread there and you can see the sign up link. I think that works, right? Okay, so let's see, has anybody shared comments of what was doing it? Hi, Janet, how are you? Lovely. All right, are you ready for me to start? I can't see any questions and it's a little long. It is a little long, but then it gives people the information they need. So we'll just have to cope with that for now because otherwise we're going to be waiting for a while. Okay, shall we begin? Let me find this thing. Workshop 2 slides. Giselle, my VA, and I have been busy working away on these slides to get it right for you. So let's find, oh, that would have been clever if I'd put it on another tab. Then I can go between the tabs. Imagine that. Okay. So let's see, where are we? StreamYard. Okay. Can you tell that I'm not very good at tech? Can you tell? Hi, Julia and Tiffany. Oh, so nice to see you. These are my beloved Lufu crew people. Tiffany, Janet, and Julia. So lovely to see you. It always makes me feel mushy to have your support. So I really thank you for being here. All right, so I'm going to share my screen. Is that right? Yes, I'm going to share my screen. I'm really excited to do this for you. Okay, and then I need to go here and click present. Okay, I think that's it. All right, so we can hide that. And will that just disappear on its own? You can tell I'm not very techy. Yes. All right. So we're on a mission, clearing toxic beliefs and empowering you to really be who you were meant to be. All right, let's go. Maybe what we could do, no, we'll do that. I'll do that as a little meditation tomorrow. Okay, I was going to do a little meditation on you as a baby, but we'll do it tomorrow. All right, so the contents of this, oh, you see, I said contest. It must be because I need to remind you, if you want to join the contest to win an 8-week program working with me and all the Lufu crew, go to zarialufu.com/contest and you can win the 8-week program for sharing about, because I want you to get results. And if you share about it, and you're doing the work and sharing about it, then you'll get an entrance into the contest. All right, so the mission, we've shared a bit of this, is empowering you to blossom into you, rooting out the toxic past. So you can tell that happened to me. It was not because of me. That's an essential distinction, because when you think it is you think you deserve it, and then you recreate a whole lot of drama and toxicity in your life. When you know that was toxic, I don't deserve it, you can create a better and different life. All right, then we're going to go into types of abuse. Then we're going to go into the ACE scores. Have you heard of ACE scores? Adverse childhood experiences. We're going to look at the impact of all areas on life. So you can identify, oh my God, it was that happened to me that created this. It's not my fault. Then we're going to share a story of Eliza, who used to hide. I can't see. Can I do it on the, if I move this one? I've got 2 mice. I want to see. She used to hide like this when she came on calls with me, and I could just see the top of her head. So we're going to hear about the story of Eliza and how she began to sit up. So then an insight into your transformation. What will it take to transform? And which S do you need? I wonder what S's you can guess we're going to look at. And then practice, just next step only. That's not edited. All right, the story of Julia, growing the psyche. And we also, Jennifer has just added in a little thing. So it will be Julia and Jennifer. And then love work, 1 and 2. What is going to be your homework, love work today? And then we're going to share about the contest and see if you've got any questions. All right, let's go. So I've shared the mission. Yeah, the mission is empowering you to blossom. And we want to root out all the toxic past that have got us to where we are today. And we want to fertilize the richness of your psyche, so that even though you didn't have that secure, loving base, you can create the qualities within you that you would have had you had that. All right, but we're going to start at the beginning, because you can't sugarcoat shit. So if you had it shit in your childhood, you can't just sugarcoat it and go, I'm all love, light, and bliss. This is happiness and joy, because underneath the shit still stinks and it permeates into everything. And you can smell it, everybody else can smell it. And they're like, I think I'll just stay away from that. A lot of you say that it feels like others have an allergy to you, because often they can smell the sort of shit that you're not processing. And they're like, I'm not going to come near that because I don't want that processed on me. So we want to process the shit, worm our way through it, get it into fertilizer so we can fertilize the richness of who we are. So let's look at the shit. Yeah, I'm with you and you're not alone. So let's go. First is sexual. Now, there's a distinction that I want to make in here, because a lot of people come into Home for Restoring Life and Love and say, I just was molested. I wasn't actually raped, so it can't be real. And I want to share that I was both raped and I was sexually molested. But the sexual molesting had a far bigger impact on my life than the rape. And that's not to say that the rape wasn't horrendous. The rape was like a long time of me processing that. I couldn't function for about a year. But the molestation, that has had a much longer impact on every single relationship that I've ever had. And probably because of that, I got raped. And so I don't want anybody in the group to be able to judge what I had wasn't as bad as what you had. So therefore, I can't talk about it because it's not legitimate. If you didn't have a loving witness around you who went, that was wrong and bad, then you carry the shame of that. So for instance, if you were raped and somebody straight away said that was atrocious and awful and it shouldn't have happened, and police came and sorted it and the guy went to prison, you'll heal more faster than you would if you were molested and people said, well, that's nothing. Because then it lives inside of you with no loving witness going, that was wrong. So we'll go into more of that in the question session tomorrow. But I really want you to know that there is no, that's a small violation and this is a big violation, because, for instance, molesting often takes priming, so it degrades any trust you have in other people, because then whenever anybody was nice to you, which is how it was for me, anytime somebody was nice to me, I'd be like, you must be an abuser if you're being nice to me. So I don't want you to judge yourself and go, what I had was not something that was big. Then there's physical abuse. And this isn't just being beaten. This is also being threatened with violence. Like I got a lot of, if you don't shut up, I'll give you something to cry about. Or if you don't stop crying, I'll give you something to cry about. or if you tell our secrets, you will be beaten. So if I ever in public tried to share what was going on of how my brother was being abusive at home and bullying me, he would say, just you wait until we get home. And I would be petrified. And so I couldn't relax. My whole body would just be tense. And he would beat me. And my mother would go, well, he did warn you. So she didn't say that should stop. She was like, well, the threat seems understandable. You know, you deserve to be beaten. And so it made me think, that's what I deserve. So a threat can be just as bad as the actual trauma. Physically, it's the same thing in the body. Then there's mental abuse of somebody gaslighting you, where you go, Mom, I didn't like how you treated me here. No, did I do that? No, don't think that ever happened. I think that must be your mind. So you're like, what, am I crazy? So that manipulation can be horrendous, because then you begin to doubt and not trust yourself. Okay, and there's also on the other side of that, so that's quite direct mental abuse. The other side of that is a neglect of your mental capacity, where you say, for instance, you said, hey, I'm really interested in this. And the parents just gave you that passive destructive of, that lack of stimulation and interest would often leave clients that I've worked with, like as an adult, they don't know what they're interested in, because they've never had who they are had any validation. So they don't think that their interests are valid or interesting enough to be interested in. And that leaves such an emptiness and a void in life, because you've just been hurt so badly that, you know, like one client who is in the Restore group, she just said, I didn't even know what my favorite color was because I was ignored so much. Like, I know how my kid's favorite color has changed over time. She had never been asked that. There wasn't that interest in her. All right. So then there's emotional abuse. So from the neglect of where somebody is not interested in what you're feeling at all, to the abuse of mocking and shaming and making you wrong for what you feel. Oh, were you a little baby? Or, you know, mocking anything of, oh, is that going to get you angry? Let's see, is that going to get you angry? A complete vindictive way of being with you without any regard for what you're feeling, instead of like, sweetie, I really respect you. If this is upsetting you, I'm not going to do that because you matter to me. You know, it's such a contrast. So it makes you feel that any of your emotions that you're feeling feel weird, wrong, and you feel ashamed when you're feeling them and uncomfortable in yourself every time you have an emotion, because there's this fear that you're going to get threatened or mocked or shamed or violated because of what you feel. And then there's cultural abuse. And at the moment, we can see that finally white people have gone, oh, wow, this actually isn't okay. Whereas Black people and minorities have experienced this for centuries, where are you too scared to walk in the street because you could get killed? Where even being in your home, you don't know if police will barge in America and kill you. And this leads to a complete anxiety wherever you are, that you could be killed, insulted, spat at. I just watched a video today of a policeman spitting, that's the word, I couldn't find the word, at a protester. You know, it just, that level of abuse is just horrendous. And it permeates everything that you feel, because then you can't trust a white person unless you've had a lot of white people around you who have been validating, empathetic, and caring. If you've only been in an area that has a lot of, you know, in some multicultural areas, there's more acceptance, but guaranteed there will still be violation for Black people every day in some way. You know, I read this morning, my daughter came and showed me that until 2015, the British government were still paying back slave owners, still in 2015, for releasing slaves as property. 2015, that's only 5 years ago, whereas slavery ended years back. But that, it's just dumbfounding. And that level of abuse will permeate so much of who you are. We see it in the little kids who point out the dolls saying the black doll is ugly. And that is what this cultural abuse does, is it leaves you feeling like you are bad because everything around you must be right, because that's just the reality that you're in. So all of these types of abuse are wrong, and they all impact you, and none of them are your fault, ever. You didn't deserve it. You are only deserving of love, acceptance, cherishing, and care. I want you to breathe that in and know it. You are only deserving of love and goodness and cherishing and care. All right. So let's go on. So now ACE scores, I don't know if you've heard of them, but I'm going to do this with you, and I want you to count how many ACE scores you have. Hi, Sana. And I'm just going to check quickly if there are any questions in the question thread, because I don't want anybody to feel ignored. Okay. All right. So those questions for tomorrow night, not relating to this. So you're ready for the ACE scores? Okay. So ACE scores are adverse childhood experiences. They did a study having a look at childhood experiences and seeing how they impacted different things. So these are the 10 scores, and I want you to lift up your fingers. I can't see you, but I want you, as you go through with me, as I go through them, to add up how many you had. Even one of them impact your life. And the more you have, the more it impacts your health, wealth, friendships, sense of self. All right. So did you have physical abuse? So it can either be physical abuse where you were hit or you were threatened. Did you have emotional? I said to my VA, oops, we've left off the L. Did we have emotional abuse where you were either emotionally neglected or mocked and shamed and made to feel that what you were feeling was wrong? Did you have sexual abuse? That's either being molested or being raped as a child. Did you have physical neglect? So your physical needs weren't met. Maybe you were cold, hungry, left alone. Did you have emotional neglect, where if you walked in a room, people just ignored you and made you feel like you were invisible and you didn't matter? Did somebody in your house have mental illness, depression, anxiety, bipolar, schizophrenia? Did you have a parent or a close family member go into prison? Was your mother treated violently around you? Did a parent have substance abuse? And did your parents get divorced? Or separate, or were your parents separated? So I have 7 of those, and I'm curious how much you guys had, because these things impact your life and they plant the seeds of these toxic beliefs that we're going to be looking at. So let's have a look at how much these toxic beliefs have. Okay. So they did a study, a Harvard study, where they interviewed these men, white men, but still it relates to all of us. Maybe I'll just go back onto these for people who are watching. They did a Harvard study with hundreds of people who started at Harvard, so they were young, in their 20s. And then they researched them all through their lives until they were 70. So this longitudinal study, they got to see the impact of childhood adverse experiences. They asked them questions like, were you loved and respected as a child? Did you feel safe? And then they followed these people all the way through their lives. And they got to see how many jobs they had, what their quality of the relationships were. Like, did you feel loved in your marriages? How many marriages did you have? What sort of friendships did you have? What was your wealth like? And it was shocking to see what happened. So let's go through it. All right. So I first need to let you know that none of this is your fault. And you always deserved a few typos in this. Just ignore the typos. You always deserved secure, attached love. So let's look. They found in this Harvard study, and other ACE research has found, that it impacts what we think and feel about ourselves. So have a pause and think, for those of you in my Restore group, think of how much, especially when you started, you felt about yourself. It impacts, like, even spiritual experiences where you think, I'm not lovable. Nobody will be there for me. You think your self-identity is warped, where you think you are bad, you don't have confidence, and you allow yourself to be treated badly. Wait, that's the next one. You feel like you don't deserve goodness in the world. And it affects your beliefs and values, because you will accept less in life because you think you deserve less in life. And you feel worthless in yourself, which is what we looked at in Workshop 1. Have you watched Workshop 1? Go and share it, zarialufu.com/contest, to tell me what you got out of Workshop 1. I'm curious. The next is that it affected our relationships and parenting. In that Harvard study, they found that people who had felt unloved in childhood got divorced earlier, had way more relationships, and they were unsatisfying. They had fewer friendships, and in the friendships, there was a lot more conflict and issues than there were in the people who came from secure, loving, respectful homes. The guys who came from the secure, loving, respectful homes tended to have marriages that were fulfilling, happy, and loving, and lasted for most of their lives. How sad is that? And partly, when you have been treated toxically with abuse, you think you don't deserve goodness, and you repeat that, and you don't have that discernment to see who is healthy and who is not. You feel so desperate that you often, when somebody love bombs you and they buy you lots of presents and it makes you think you're so amazing, that they are amazing, but actually they were manipulating you. When you've had abuse with somebody beating you and then buying you flowers or gifts to apologize, some parents, then you think that that's love, but it's manipulation. It isn't genuine. But that's what you yearn for. So you start getting involved with those sort of people, and then you get left feeling hurt and upset. All right. So it affects how we treat ourselves. The people who had unloving childhoods were less healthy, less fit, and had more disease. They had higher rates of heart disease, diabetes, and immune dysfunction. And that all comes from that toxic belief that we don't matter. And it also comes from the inability to process emotions, because if you're feeling something and you don't know how to process it, then, and you ignore it and repress it, it manifests as disease. And when it manifests as disease, then it processes through some sort of illness like heart disease or cancer. And that comes out of this toxic belief that you feel like you just need to be nice all the time and not really express how you feel. And then it affects how you function in the world. So in the Harvard study, they found that people who had come from homes that weren't loving earned less than 100,000 in comparison to the other people a year. The folk who were loved earned more than 100,000 than the other guys. For me, when I read that, I just got teary. I felt that was so tragic. They got higher education if you were loved, better jobs, more stable jobs, and were happier in their work life than people who had abuse. And that all comes from that abuse leaves you feeling unloved. Oh, it's sad. I just want you to shake it out and just go, I didn't deserve this. This was not what I deserved. I deserved love and goodness and kindness. And I'm going to create a new life. Just shake it out. Shake all that abuse and just know it's not going to settle inside of you. Just like the animals, when they've had a stressful moment, they shake it off and then they can carry on. Let's just shake it off. If you're feeling emotional, you can tuck yourself fast and take a deep breath and a big sigh and release it out. Just feel your body for a moment sparkling. And no, you never deserved any of that. So let's go on to my story then. Last year in June, Eliza came to join the BFF program. And when she came, she used to always sit like this, so we could only see the top of her head. Obviously, she was a bit more mature than me and didn't have funny little buns in her head. But all we could see was the top of her head. And sometimes we couldn't see that. She'd just turn off the whole screen and she would just sit like this. And sometimes if she spoke, we'd just see the tip of her eyes and then she would knock down. She would speak into her hands the whole way through. And she had lost her voice in childhood because she wasn't listened to. She wasn't seen. She was just invisible to her mother. And her father didn't stand up and say, hey, this is not okay, you matter. He didn't want to get involved. And so she didn't have this, like, if he had got involved and gone, she doesn't deserve this, she might have been able to sit up and go, I'm worthy of more. But nobody was there to go, this isn't okay. So she just shrunk into herself when she came to work with us. And I say us because it feels like a team often, that when people have been in the Restore group and part of the Lufu crew, everybody is so loving and supportive of each other. And so with encouragement and help with all the tech stuff that she had, she slowly started raising her eyes just a little bit at a time until suddenly she came and I noticed that we could see all of her from her chest up. And I was like, look at you. Look, it's so lovely to see you. She finally allowed us to see her because she began to see herself. She worked so hard using the tools. She would focus on one tool at a time. We've got a whole library of tools, and she would just focus on one thing at a time until it became part of her. And slowly, she grew her backbone until she could stand and look in the camera and speak to us. It was just incredible to see. So if you are feeling like you are shrunk and small in yourself, I want you to know that things can shift. It isn't like a magic bullet that you're suddenly just going to take it and everything happens. It is work because you have to unravel these things that happen to you. But like Eliza, you can do it. You can sit up. You can be seen. You can have your voice heard and met. And the most beautiful transformation is from the start, she didn't want to share her emotions because they were just, she felt ashamed of what she was feeling, to now she could share her emotions, be vulnerable, and allow us to support and love her so that she didn't feel alone. She felt loved through what she was going through. So that bravery comes from just slowly working on building those parts in you. I'm very proud of Eliza. It's just beautiful to see. And I know that that transformation can happen to you too. So let's look at what it takes. So years ago, I I suffer from IPP. That is so weird. I don't know what IPP is, and I don't know if this is anything to do with abuse, but if it's a spammer that we had like last night, so you can tell me what IPP is, but if it's a spammer, then let me know. So some people are sharing what their ACE scores are, 5s and stuff. And 5 is a lot, that increases so much the health issues, communication issues, relationship issues that you would have not received. Because if you think you had so many different ACE scores happening, that meant that you had a lot of moments that your parents were vacant in themselves, so not teaching you the skills for every age that you were of how to grow your sense of self, communicate healthily, work through issues of that age. So the issues of that age would constantly be a shadow to you. And one thing that we do in the group is look at what were the gaps, and then learning to grow those skills that we didn't get. So I wanted to share this with you, an insight into transformation that I saw. Is I did a research project for my integral theory masters. And I did 2 things in the research project. I researched millionaires who had gone from poverty to millionaire, because for one thing, I wanted to serve over 2 million people who'd had abuse. And so I wanted to find people who had done something in 1 million so that I could learn to serve 1 million. And for a research study, you have to have over 20 people. So I had 25 or 6 millionaires who had all come from poverty and then gone into earning. They had to earn over 1 million a year to be part of the research study. And I found out from them what the core thing was. And that was that they held a vision of what they wanted to create. And it was fascinating for me researching them and asking them what were the factors that really helped them, getting this vision crystal clear. Because when we think that we've had abuse and we don't deserve anything good, we look to the future as though it's going to be just as bad as now. And then if you've got a future that is in your imagination that's awful, that you don't want to live for, then you would feel anxious, depressed, or worried about what's going to happen. But if you create a vision for your future that is stimulating, exciting, purposeful, that really wakes you up in the morning, then you've got something that you want to live for. And then all the work that you have to do to be able to create the skills, get the support, then it feels easier because you know that you're getting towards something that's wonderful. So all the work is really essential. And when it gets hard, you're like, I need to do this anyway because I want to get to that life that's magical and beautiful. So this is about dreaming the beautiful life that you want. So I want you to just take a little breath now. And maybe you can see something as a little kid that you were like, I want to create that. Just have a little ponder as I'm talking now. The other side of what I did in this research in my thesis was I studied 35 actors' lives. And I saw who had abuse or who had a lot of ACE scores in their childhood. And then what happened in their fame? How long did it take? And it was completely tragic. The people who'd had a lot of abuse took far longer to get there, and it was a much harder struggle along the way, but they did get there. And the people who hadn't had abuse, their pathway they got into acting school easy, they got their first job easy, and their career was supported and wonderful. Whereas the people who'd had abuse struggled, like Sylvester Stallone. He lived in a tiny, tiny room and wrote Rocky in his room. He had to sell his dog so he could have money to eat. And then finally, when he sold Rocky, he stood outside the cafe. He sold his dog and bought back the dog for thousands. But it took him, a lot to get that. And people didn't value him. And he had to fight for himself to do that. And that's sometimes what it takes. is that we have to fight for ourselves. But if we don't know what we're creating, then we've got nothing to fight for. So we have to know where we're going. And there are a couple of ways of working out where you're going. One is to look around and go, what sort of life do I want? Oh, I'd like a bit of that and a bit of that. But there's another way that isn't quite as comfortable. And it's a way that makes me a bit teary. I noticed there were a few people in the world that I was ignoring. And then one day I actually turned on the video of listening to one of the people that I was avoiding on Instagram. And she said, do you know why you're avoiding me? I was like, how do you know? This is one of the first few times that I was listening to her video. And she said, you're avoiding me because you're jealous. And you're envious of me because I've written my book and you haven't. And I was like, how did she know? How is she talking to me? And she said, one of the core things to tell that you want something is that you feel envious of them. So instead of pushing it away, going, oh, a horrible person has got this or that, lean into it and go, oh, that sense of envy, it's this juiciness that's compelling me that that's what I want to create in my life. So I need to develop the skills and the talents and get the support I need to be able to create that. So have a think, like, what are you seeing in life in the world that you go, I want that? Like something that's so juicy that you'd get out of bed for, that any time that the work gets hard and you think, I'm too scared to reach out for people to hear about why they like me or value me. So I'm just going to stay small and stuck and all feeling icky in myself. What would be the vision that would make you go, I want to get to the place that I'm like that. And so I'll do this because I know it will take me a step closer. What's that thing? And then what's the thing that makes you feel envious? That makes you go, oh, they've got that and I want that. Call that. Call into that and vision, hey, I want that. I'm not going to envy them and push it away. I'm going to find out what are the skills that I need to create that in my life. All right, let me just scroll down and see if they're okay. Thanks, Sophie, for that. Okay, so Rosemary said, please let me know about the ones without A scores. I'm not sure what you're asking me, Rosemary. You'll need to watch the replay because I can't quite think. And then after the replay, if you watch the bit that you've missed, then let me know and I will answer you. Then you can tell me what you missed if you watch the replay. So just find where on the bit that you've missed. Oh, the actors. Yeah, what A scores did they have? They had all sorts. A lot of them were military brats and their fathers were abusive. They moved to a lot of places, and then where they moved to, they were bullied and had emotional abuse and neglect. And some were sexually abused. So they had all sorts of different A scores, the actors did. So I hope that I've answered that. Donna, that's wonderful. And one of the things about feeling loved is that when we still are trapped in all that toxic stuff of the adverse childhood experiences, we don't feel that we're worth it. And we're filled up with all the negativity. And one thing that I teach when I've run parenting classes is if your kid is filled up with all the upset and you go, I love you, they're just like, ugh, they can't let it in. So you've got to actually empathize with all of this stuff. And then it can clear out. It's kind of like you've got this love tank inside, but it's filled up with all the triggers. There's no room for love. So once you clear out all the triggers, ta-da, there's all this room to fill you up with love. All right. So once you've got this vision, how are you going to get to that? Let's have a look at this. These are the little S's that we have. So one of the wonderful Restore members created this so that you can see what it takes to blossom. So you can ask yourself, what do I need to blossom? is at first learning how to be safe, because you can't create a beautiful vision and a magical life without a solid foundation, because otherwise you keep getting triggered and upset. You need to learn how to create a safe environment within yourself. There's a guy called Stuart Davis who's a singer, and he says, the higher you climb, the more the ladder sways, meaning the higher you go up in your development, if you have lots of shadow, it really sways a lot. So when you're starting the work, you really want to learn to get safe so that wherever you are along the ladder of life, you feel safe within yourself. The next is remembering your strengths, because our brains are designed for survival, which means we're looking around for fears to protect ourselves, or things that could kill us or eat us. So we're watching it, and we're designed to look for negative things. And when we're always on that sense of hypervigilance and alert, we can't actually create things. So we need to remember, what are your strengths? So pause and think, what am I great at? What are my strengths that are going to get me forward to creating this magical vision? And then you might look at, what are my skills? Because, like, for instance, for me, with doing this, StreamYard, having 2 computers, all of this, the people in Restore will know I've had to learn a lot of skills to get to this. This is the first time I'm using 2 computers. And when I first started Restore, do you know how I did it? I did it with a Facebook post and a PayPal link. That was it. And a live video sharing with people what I was wanting to create with them. And that was 18 months ago. And in that time, I've taken out a loan to invest in the dream of this vision of serving 2 million people. I've taken out so much money to be able to learn all these different skills. So I've had to look at my business and go, if I'm going to serve 2 million people, what do I need? Well, I need to understand internet marketing so that I can reach, because, 2 billion people are on Facebook. So how can I reach the people who are who've been abused? So for me, I was wondering, this safe foundation, I kept seeing that I could never create it without developing these skills, but I didn't have the money to invest. So I think altogether, I've taken over like £30,000 loans. It's actually a little bit more, to be able to invest in all the different coaches, like how do I run Facebook? How do I run a membership? How do I actually run this launch? Like, I've got a coach that just helps me to be able to share this program with you. So I'm having to go, what are the skills that I'm missing? Like, how do I actually write even a workshop or like a post on Facebook for it to be effective, to touch people's hearts? All of those are different skills. And I have a coach for each one of those so that I can serve you. So this huge vision in front of me, but they're all these skills that I'm lacking that I have to grow. So what are the skills that you can see? But when I started out, I was completely overwhelmed. There were so many skills that I didn't have, and I just had to learn one by one of what I was going to do. Then the next is growing your psyche. And we're going to talk about that in a bit, but growing your psyche is like, maybe there's a part of you that is not feeling confident. Like the other day, Julia said to me, wow, your videos have so improved. You look so much more confident in yourself. And it's because I've done it a lot, and I've been growing that part of myself of going, come on, you can do this. So growing parts of your psyche, like you can see, what is a part that is damaging? Like, do you just have this critical voice that's there that's always telling you that you're wrong, but not like a voice that's encouraging you and cheerleading you, like, I believe in you? Like, there were so many times. We had a crazy incident in the membership last year, and I just thought, I'm going to quit. And I didn't tell anybody because I didn't want them to feel scared. But then inside of me, thankfully, I had grown enough of this voice that said, hey, hang on, you can do this. You're not a failure. you can grow the skills to do this better. And so I carried on, and it was only a few months later that I said, hey, at that point, I felt like I was going to quit. But I didn't want to flood into anybody else and make them anxious or worried. So I worked through it until I'd got to the other side, and then I was able to share. But that only comes from having learned to be safe in my feelings so that I didn't flood and ruin other people's, trigger their own fears. Okay, then seeing, can I make a difference? So that sight is really, really, really important. Like seeing, where in the world can I make a difference to other people? What is that vision that you're holding that will compel you to be able to work towards it? And then focusing on solution-orientated thinking. So when I was, maybe 3 years ago, I was going, okay, I want to, work with 2 million people to shift them from abuse to love. And I kept just going, but I can't do that. I don't have the money to invest. I don't know what to do. And so then I kept going. Instead of going, I'm just going to become a business consultant because I've got a master's in integral theory, so I can easily do that. Instead of going that, I was like, this vision matters to me. What is the solution here? How will I do this? And then I was on Facebook, and I heard in my intuition to join this one group. And then on the group, there was somebody talking about getting a business loan. I got the business loan, I invested in the courses, and I started doing it. And it's just flowed. It hasn't been easy, but as long as I'm trusting, going, what is the solution here? Instead of going, I'm useless, I'm a failure, I'm going to quit. And then it's having a support network. And that's one thing those millionaires told me, is that they had to have somebody to believe in them when everything else was failing. And I pay a lot of money to have people around me to be that voice of, you can do that. Like my launch coach is doing a call 3 times a week in the evening to answer questions, so that if I'm stuck at all, or I get scared or upset, I can go to her to go, what do I do here? What do I say here? I'm lost. I don't know how to do it. Because doing this has taken a lot of preparation, and then tech might go wrong. Like just before this call, I realized that the link wasn't working. So I had to call my VA because I don't know how to fix it, and wake him up at 3 a.m. and ask him to quickly fix it because I don't know how to do that. So you need a support network around you. So you can, but in order to do that, you need to build relationship skills, communication skills, and it can be overwhelming at the start. And when I was having this huge vision and I didn't know the steps, I just got completely numb, and I couldn't take any action because it just felt overwhelming. So if it feels overwhelming for you, this is what you need to do, is just practice your next step only. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. Because when we have all these things that are going on, that we can develop everything, we get overwhelmed. And when we get overwhelmed, the dorsal vagus nerve in the brainstem gets triggered. It's not conscious. We don't do it on purpose. It's automatic. And it shuts us down and makes us immobilized. So what we need to do is get safe in ourselves. It might take a bit of shaking, a bit of breathing, and then asking ourselves, out of all these different things, what is the number one step? Is it having a supportive community? What we'll see in a bit is that what Julia said, it just makes such a difference to her. So, but what is it for you? Is it growing different skills like communication skills or safety skills? What's the most important thing that you need to do, the one step that you need to do for you that will make a difference in taking your one step towards this incredible vision of who you are? All right. So Sana says, I feel like I've got no useful skills. Okay, she did a bachelor's, she worked in a great company, and then going back to work feels daunting and feels like I can't. When we get overwhelmed, it's kind of like this, like I want to go back to work, I want to do something, but I don't have any skills. what I would work on now is seeing what in the world are you interested in? Like for me, for instance, okay, so I've trained as a relationship coach, a business coach, a singles coach, an attachment therapist, TheraPlay, psychodrama, masters in integral theory, psychology, drama. I just keep going. What am I next interested in? What excites me? What delights me? And then I go, I don't know how to do this. Okay, so who's got a skill? Like 3 of my friends in the village have trained in a type of therapy called brain spotting. And they've all said to me, it's really great. And one of them said, let's do like mutual stuff together. But I haven't qualified in brain spotting. So next weekend, I'm going on a brain spotting course. And I've got enough therapy skills. I don't need another one, but I'm fascinated by it. And I'm like, it's another therapy skill. It might help another client. So what is the thing that you are interested in that would go, yay, this sparks me. This brings me joy. You only want to be developing skills for whatever your vision is going, whatever your vision is calling you to do. Like, for example, I was a single mom, 2 tiny kids. They were 1 and 4. And every time I was meditating, and meditation might help because then it stills the mind and then you can hear what is wanting to be seeded and fertilized within you. But I was meditating every day. So you can imagine, tiny baby, or not, a 1-year-old who I was still breastfeeding. So I would breastfeed, put him to sleep, go and meditate. And I kept hearing in my head, masters. And I was like, no, I'm not studying again. No, I'm done. I hate studying, not doing it. It's too much. And every time I meditated, it was just like a boom, loud voice, masters. I was like, no, not doing it. And at that stage, I didn't have a computer and I had no money. And I was at a friend's. So once a week, I would go to a friend's house for dinner and use her computer while my kids played with her kids to check my emails. And there was an email there inviting me to do a master's in integral theory with the philosopher Ken Wilber. And it's the first time this program's ever been going to be delivered. And I started crying so deeply that I was sobbing. And my friend came in because she thought somebody had died. And I was like, oh, I have to do the master's. I've been hearing to do it. And so I had to go and get a bank loan out, but I was blacklisted. And I explained to the bank manager, you don't understand. I have to do this. I'm a single mom. This will transform my life. And he said, if you don't pay this money back, I'm going to lose my job because you are so, single mom, going overdrawn all the time. I had no money. So I got enough money to do my master's. And then, I was one of the first in the world to ever have this master's. There were 29 of us who started and only 4 of us who finished 3 years later, because I was determined that this was obviously a guidance from my soul of what I needed to do next. So if you tune into your soul and you just keep sitting with it, this is months in the making of me getting to the point that I heard. And then as soon as I heard it, I was like, I have to do that. And it was excruciating. I was in tears most days because I must have some, like whether it's dyslexia or autism, something, but I find it really hard to focus on things. So it was excruciating. And I would just be reading through tears. And being a breastfeeding mom, I would be working, stopping to breastfeed, working until 2 or 3 in the morning because I knew that this is what my soul needed. So I was willing to do the hard work to transform. So I'm not saying that this stuff is easy to develop new skills, like looking at these actors who wanted to become famous actors and live their dreams. If they had abuse, it was harder work to get to the top. And I'm not going to pussyfoot around it and lie to you and say, this is easy. It just doesn't feel fair. It doesn't feel fair to have gone through abuse, had all these childhood experiences, and now it's harder to do this. It's not like a magic and it's all done. It takes time to develop these different skills and grow into them. So I would tune into you, and I'm happy, Sana, in Restore, to create a meditation with you. And the one meditation that you can do now every day is the 15-2 meditation in there. So go and do that meditation, because I used to do that meditation every day. And that's incredible. It totally changed my life twice when I did it religiously every day. So I will tag you in that, or maybe Janet or Julia or somebody can tag you in the 15-2 meditation in the Restore membership. And you can see that there, because that really, I did it religiously. So if you do it religiously and post every day, watch the video and post every day what I tell you to in the video, you will find things will change and you will get clearer. Because I didn't know my vision when I was doing the 15-2, and it just opened towards me. All right. So the next step is one next step. So what might be for you is what it was, one of the steps for Julia. And I'm also going to share a bit of what Jennifer was. So the one thing is growing your psyche. And this is something we do in the BFF program, is that I've got different meditations to grow parts of your psyche. Because like if you feel like I'm not strong enough, I don't feel like I can take these steps because it's just too much. I can't step into the world because I just feel too, like when Julia started working, she was discombobulated, stuck in so much. And I'm going to go more into her story on Friday, but I just wanted to share with you what it was like for her growing her psyche. These are her words that she shared with me. She typed them. She said, so I've created various different ones, and you do them every time that you're feeling like you are lacking that part and you want to grow it. So she said, the protector character has been the best one for me. It's Wonder Woman. Is this Superwoman? I haven't put Wonder Woman there. Sorry, Julia. She comes in and swipes through and stands between me and anyone who upsets me. Because when we have, like for Julia, she had always she got roped into things by other people growing up. And so there hadn't been a protective system in her. So when there was lots of issues going on, she would leap in to fix them or be drawn in. And now she has this Wonder Woman that goes, nope, I'm clearing this. You don't have to. You relax. I'm here for you. And she said, so this protector is one of the things that I help you to grow. It might not be Wonder Woman for you. For me, it's Dumbledore, who stands there and clears the energy and goes, nope, you deserve better than this, and helps me set boundaries in myself. The other one is that we have this mother meditation. For those of you who have really toxic mothers, you can develop this reparenting mother who gives you the love that you've always needed. And she said, my mum wasn't available for me at all. So this imaginary mother is loving and caring and supported and interested in me. And the last one is a big trigger. And that has this mother, internal mother in her psyche, has helped me to see her real mother, because she has this imaginary mother that is loving and caring and there for her. And she said, having all these different parts in her psyche that she's growing, like encourager, supporter, inner father, inner mother, protector, all of them are great to have your own fan club when you're feeling low. Because if you were brought up in mental or emotional abuse and always battered, then you don't know how to boost yourself up. So I've created this thing where you grow these parts in your psyche so you become your fan club, as Julia calls it. But she said at the end, the best club that I have to see me through the day in tough situations is the Restore group. Because every day that she's going through everything, she can post, and there are people in Australia, America, Europe, who will comment and support her and say, we believe in you. We know that you're going to do this. And I want to just share with you, where is it? Where did I put it? Jennifer said something. No, I thought that I had put it. Give me a second and I will find this, because I think it was really helpful to hear what somebody else shared, so that you can see how these things can help you, because often it can be really hard and lonely knowing what it is. Okay, So this is what Jennifer said that I just thought was beautiful. She said, the other day she was trying to work through an issue and she called out to her support characters. And she was super surprised to find they were her. The encourager, the mother, their father, it was all her, and she loved it. And that's exactly what it is. Initially, when you're building these characters, they're sort of outside there that you call from the outside because you haven't had them before. And then suddenly they become part of you and you realize, I can support myself. I can protect myself. I can set these boundaries. I can do it for me because they just become part of you. And so what we're doing to repair the abuse that happened is building these parts that we need for secure attachment with ourselves. And then they become part of us and we can regulate and feel supportive of ourselves. So that was really exciting for me. So we've gone through together the types of abuse, the ACE scores, how it affects you in your life, the journey of these actors, of how hard it was, and these millionaires that said you have to create a rock solid vision. And Wallace Wattles, who wrote The Science of Getting Rich, I think it's called, he calls it the certain way, because you have to be certain that you're going to achieve that. And when the whole world is in conflict and chaos and you can't see how you're going to get there, you act in a certain way that you know that this is the vision that you're working towards. And it took me a while to know that was the vision that I had in childhood, is that I wanted to devote my life to this. And there'll be little seeds planted that you had, that you knew, when I get big, this is what I want to do. This is who I want to become. And then I shared about Eliza, who hid so much and over the time has grown. And then I shared with Julia, who is a confident, amazing person who left toxic relationships and grew these parts of herself. And how Jennifer has internalized them to know that now she can support herself. So you might be sitting there anxious, depressed, no voice. Know that you can change. I've seen it with these different people. And I know that you can do it too. And you don't need to do it alone. There is a supportive community that I will talk to you about at the end of the week. All right, so what's next? I want to hear from you. Let me just check if there have been questions. Oh, Karen says she wants to do a master's too, and I keep making excuses. I'm too old. What's the point? Karen, I want to tell you, it's never too late, and it's perfect timing when you know it's right for you. You know, I was really resistant to it. And this year I was saying to all the people in the Restore group, I think I'm going to go and get a new qualification. I'm going to become a Qigong teacher because I could see that Qigong would be really helpful for people who've had abuse. So after this is finished and after the launch is finished and this workshop's finished, I'm going to look at who's the best place for me to train as a Qigong teacher. And everybody in Restore was like, don't you do enough already? I'm like, yeah, but I can always learn something else. And so it's an attitude of, this is what I love, and I'm going to do it because it's going to make me feel good. So whatever brings you joy and sparks joy, I want you to create that for yourself. So Rosemary says that her next step is safety. All right, so I think that I've answered everybody. My protector is Julia's dog, Linus. I love that. Her dog is so beautiful. All right, so I want to hear what you've got out of this, and you can go and share in. There is the link. Otherwise, the other link to share that in, I want to see where I can post it. I think down here. The other link, if you want to share privately, because that is a public link. If you want to share privately, you can share over in this link. This has taken me quite a lot to work out where to sit. How to set up everything. There we go. Okay, so that's posted. So you can post in either way. And then everybody who's entered the contest, at the end of it on Monday, when we do the Self-Love Masterclass, I will be sharing who has won the 8-week Become Your Own Best Friend, your own best, be your own BFF. That's what it is. So in that 8-week program, you get weekly sessions to weave love into you and clear the blocks that you have. You get community sessions with the LUFU crew to have a breakthrough around honoring you and taking action and feeling loved no matter what you do, because so many of us have been berated or made wrong or criticized for what we do. So we want to unravel that. So each and every area of your life, you feel loved and cherished. And then, like we've been talking about with these growing your psyche, we've got these library of meditations and practices to help you heal and help you thrive. So jump in. If that's something that you would like to win, come and share in the contest so that you can get an entrance into that. So Lucy, what you need to do to enter is share. You know, the reason that we set up this contest is because we want you to take the action. And we want you to watch the videos, because if you watch the workshops and you take action, you'll get results. And I want to support you to change your life. And frequently for people who've had abuse, they feel like they are useless, they can't do anything. And this gives a little bit of motivation of going, okay, I'm going to do the work because I might win this contest and I want to be able to do that. So to enter it, if you just go to zarialufu.com contest, and there are links in there. If you scroll all the way down, there's the link to workshop 1, and you click on that and share what you got from workshop 1. And then you can click on the next one and share what you got from workshop 2. And if you want to double your points, you share the link to the workshop and you'll double your points. So you'll get more entrance in. And the reason that I do that is because I want people to share the workshop so more people will hear about it. Because how am I going to reach 2 million people just on my own? I'm only going to do that with everybody sharing. So you can, that's how you enter and that's how you can win. Okay, so the private place to share is zarialufu.com. I wonder if I can show it. There, that's the link. So I'm showing it on my screen now, zarialufu.com/W2S. The W2S is workshop 2, S for sharing. I've just made them little digits so it's easy for you to find and easy for me to remember. Okay. So, great. Oh, okay, you can't see the bottom of the screen. Oh, funny. Okay, so let me remove the banners quickly. And then, where's the other banner that's showing? I can't see the other banner. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, there we go. So there's the contest. So that's why you were saying you couldn't see it. You didn't know how to enter the contest because you couldn't see it. That makes sense now. All right. Sorry about that. All right. So what is your love work for today? This is where you will get the results from. This was created by a beautiful member of the Restore group. It says at the bottom, my past impacts my present life. So I want you to write down things in that. So draw it for yourself, just a tree with roots and branches. At the bottom are the abuse that you've had and the adverse childhood experiences. Those were the things that your roots were grown into. And it affects everything. If you put a plant in toxic soil, the plant will come out withered and not functioning as well as it would if it was put in fertilized soil. So what are those things that have impacted your roots? And then how have they impacted you? Because you can see that's not you, that's just the stuff from the past. So that's step one, number 1. So see, how has it impacted you? We went through all of those things of It might have made you feel worthless, or it might mean you get into toxic relationships, or it might mean that you flood people with your emotions because you were flooded as a kid, and so you don't know how to regulate yourself. That was certainly me, and I shared today of how I held back because I've learned not to flood as much as I used to. It might mean, like Karen said, she doesn't do a master's because everything else happens, that you don't believe in yourself or you judge yourself. So I don't take steps towards my dream, or I can be quite annoying or demanding, or I can avoid people because I don't feel loved. So look at what are the ways, or maybe you have addictions. So what are the ways that your past impacts who you are? So just draw a little tree with the roots. And what I would like you to do is put post-it notes for the things that are the behaviors that were created by this. I don't want you to draw on the paper the things that of who you are. And there's a reason for that, because when we do the next one, the tree of your future, I want you to write at the bottom, I can change when I fertilize my roots and turn my life around. So what are the things that you need to fertilize your roots with? Like it might mean you need to grow aspects of your psyche so that you are more of a fan club for yourself. It might mean that you need to get more secure. It might mean that, you know, remember that beautiful flower that one of the Restore crew created for me. It might mean that you need to remember your strengths, or create more solution-oriented thinking, or become a better communicator. And when you'd fertilized yourself with that, how would it impact who you are? You'd feel more secure in yourself. You'd be more relaxed and able to be funny and at ease with others. You might be more financially secure. You might study a master's because you feel happy in yourself. So I want you to look at the difference, and then you can take off the Post-its and put underneath, hey, this is where I am now, but this is what I'm creating underneath it. And when a friend of mine has done this with kids who've been in abuse, and as they grow it, she rips off the Post-its of what they used to be, because they've grown this quality underneath that they have the capacity to, with support, with skills, with safety and strength, you can grow these things. It just takes knowing what they are. All right. I know, Sana, it was created by one of the Magical Restore crew who chooses to remain anonymous. So I just love them. I think they're so beautiful, hey? I described to them before I ran the workshop, I shared what I was doing, and she just popped in and said, look at this. I was like, God, that's utterly stunning. So, all right. So let's see. Okay, yes. So if you've got questions, like as you're doing all of this work in the next day, I want you to share them, zarialufu.com, and that's a private space to share. If you just put questions behind my name, or if you want to share in the actual question thread on the video and you're not bothered about confidentiality, you can just remember QA for Q&A number 2, because it's my second Q&A session that I'm doing. And that's tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. UK time. So the Australians can come in. So there we are. It's 10 a.m. UK, 7 p.m. Sydney, and 9 p.m. Auckland. So this is your homework. I want you to do the past and how it impacts you. And then I want you to do another tree and share what are the foundations that you need to fertilize yourself, and who will that help to create and empower you to become. And remember, if you are overwhelmed, what is the one next step you can take? Just one step. Because if you think, I've got to do all of these quick, you will get immobilized and you won't be able to take action. So if you find yourself going, I can't do anything, this is too much, just ask yourself, what's my one next step? And when you can take one step, you are going in the right direction towards your dreams. All right. So again, if you want to join the contest, you can share /contest, or, oh no, that shouldn't be W1, that should be W2. Because it's, let me see if I can quickly edit that. Because this is for workshop 2. All right, there we go. So has it gone all the way to the beginning? No. There we go. So workshop 2. There we go. That is the end of that. Are there any questions? Yes, I can put the tasks up, Lucy. Though this video will be up, so you'll be able to watch that, but I will create links and I will put them into the group. So I will put them in the group and I will put a tab. So as soon as I get off this, I will make a post for each one and I will put them into the unit that is, I'll show you where, and I can't show you because it's confidential and people's names will pop up. So it will be in the units. I think Julia said it's unit 3 for Become Your Own Best Friend workshop. And I will label it workshop 2, love work, and I will put it there. And you'll be able to find the love work 1 and 2 that I've already put in there. All right. I understand. I've got a bad memory too. All right. Karen said it was really hard emotionally. I've got a long way to go, but I'm on the road. I feel heard. Oh, good. I'm glad you feel heard. It is a long journey. No kidding. No kidding. You think for yourself. And this is what makes a huge difference for me, Karen, is that I look at the great human beings in the world. Buddha, Gandhi, Jesus. The Buddha spent like 15 years meditating before he taught anyone. How do I think? And he had a good life. He was like in a palace. Not that necessarily rich people just have good lives, because his parents were quite controlling and they didn't allow him to have freedom. So, but he spent many years. And then there's the Saint Milarepa or Milarepa. I'm not too sure how to pronounce it. Tibetan saint. He spent so many years meditating and working through and developing the skills that he needed to function as a human being after a really abusive, toxic past. And so when I've read, like even St. Francis of Assisi, his father was an alcoholic and abusive. He really struggled to break free. And like I read, I don't know, there was like, I don't know how many books there was in this really detailed, maybe 6 books. When I was pregnant with my daughter, I read through St. Francis of Assisi's life. I've always looked for the series of his life again, because I just wept through it. It was astonishingly beautiful, of his whole life story. And it took him years of being alone, working through everything to get to the place where he could go out into the world. So it's quite a common thing that people have an awful childhood, and then for a few years, this is how it was for me and for many clients I've worked with, they're completely okay, and then suddenly they just crash. And what I've figured out now is that we crash is because what we were doing before was holding ourselves together and pretending we were functional. But the reality is that we were on very rocky foundations, and the foundations finally broke. And then now we have to rebuild so that we have secure, stable foundations of true, secure love within ourselves that we can grow our strengths and our skills and our talents from to be able to create the life that we want. But that whole crushing of the foundations is such a bleak, horrible, dark time. And when we're in that, of this sort of dark night of the soul, or when we are depressed and we never think that anything's ever going to come right again, it's really, really excruciating. And I was there for many years, and I was deeply angry. I lost so many friends on Facebook because I would just rage about things. And people were like, she's so toxic. But I really realized, and I was grateful to, Freud, Jung, so many psychologists said that until you get angry with what happened to you, you can't transform, because anger is the energy that leads and guides your transformation. Because when you're just depressed and you're just like, I'm a bad person, there's no energy to transform. Actually, you have to get pissed off. That was not okay. I did not deserve that. I will not tolerate that. Then suddenly that gives you the energy and like, I'm going to create a better life. I deserve better for me. Then you have the energy to do it. And so I'm really grateful for those angry years. So now when I see all these riots of people angry and mad, I'm like, yes, this anger. Because before you were just keeping quiet and staying the same and not fighting for your right to be free, to be equal, to be treated with respect. This anger and rage is so essential to wake up that fighting spirit to create a better life. And so don't be nervous of your anger. You just got to learn to channel it, because the anger will give you the initiative and the energy and the impulse to transform. And I didn't want to get angry because my mother had said to me that I needed to be nice. And if I wasn't nice, I wasn't loved. So I was scared to get angry because I knew if I get angry, I wouldn't be loved. And I was petrified of that. And then one day I was like, I would rather not be loved and be true to myself. The reality is I'm really angry. I'm violated and I'm pissed off. And she literally said, this is the last time that I was in her house where her boyfriend was vindictive and rude. And I was like, what did you just say? And he just shrugged and laughed. And I said, were you deliberately spiteful and vindictive? And she went, he would never do that, would you, darling? And he said, yeah, I was. And I said, right, kids, we're leaving. And she was like, no, let's just be happy and nice. And I was like, I am not happy with somebody being vindictive towards me in front of my children. I am not staying. Come, kids. And my kids said, can we just finish our lunch because it's really tasty? I was like, all right, but I'm going to go into the bathroom. And I went up into the bathroom and I became my own loving witness. And I looked into the mirror with my mascara making beautiful tear marks down my face. And I said to myself, it makes sense you're enraged because you were violated and you did not deserve to be treated like that. You deserve better. And you don't ever need to be around this again in your life. And then I wiped my eyes, went downstairs, said, come on, kids. I stayed upstairs for 15 minutes until I knew my kids had finished dinner. And that was it. Never went back to my mother's house again because I knew. And if I hadn't got angry, I would have just stayed there, tolerating it. And because I tolerated it for so long, I got chronic fatigue syndrome. I had no energy because I was repressing all my anger, all my upset. And then finally I went, I'm done. I'm not going to be treated like this. And she was like, what? Who are you? You've always been so nice. They used to say to me, my mother used to say, you're the most loving person on the planet. And it was just like this sort of slimy silkiness of, this is how we like you. And I was like, I don't like being that person. I want to be true to me. And I had to learn to get angry. And it was so helpful when I read from Freud and Jung, who were like the grandfathers of psychology, that they said, you have to get angry because anger is the energy of transformation. And I was like, right, I'm not like abusive angry. I wasn't abusive. I was just like, I'm not tolerating being abused. I won't be treated like that. I won't have my children hear me be put down. This is not healthy for them, and it's not healthy for me. I am leaving. I will not be around this. But if I just took it like I always had, I would have stayed sick. I would have stayed small. I would have been crushed and just carried on staring at the wall like I had for years, because I didn't have the energy to change. That anger gave me the impulse to transform. All right. Oh, Janet, I love you. Janet says, when I'm pissed, I can conquer the world. Sadly, the world is now a little bit beyond my skill level. It is a bit beyond my skill level too. Okay, let's see if I can turn this off. How do I do it? So that I can see you. There we go. And then I can actually not be looking over there and look weird. All right. So, all right. Let me just go up. Okay, there we go. I've got up to where. So Rosemary said, I took so many notes. This is fantastic. I'll gather my thoughts and I look forward to sharing. Absolute pleasure, Rosemary. I know how hard this journey is. I really do. It's excruciating. And I want to make it quicker and easier for you. So if you have kind of my notes of looking back and going, this is what sped it up for me, and I want to make it easier for you so you're not going alone, so you know what to do, then I've done my job. I've shaved off years of your healing, and it just gives me great pleasure and delight. This is my purpose, and I love it, and I'm delighted to be here for you. So, yeah. Okay, so Karen says, this is me, I'm so angry. So the thing about anger is don't waste it. Like, Karen, of course you're angry. You're sitting in yourself going, I must do my masters. No, not now. And then your soul is like, oh, I want you to do the masters. That was like me, where my little pesky little intuition was going, masters, masters. Or it was going really strongly. It wasn't like masters. It was like masters. It was very clear. And I was going, no. And then I was really angry in the world because I was pushing this away. And then when I did the masters, it was just so like, yay, I'm meeting myself. Then I wasn't as angry because I was honoring who I am. So it's also when you are being emotionally abusive to you, Karen, of silencing yourself, dismissing yourself, telling yourself that your dreams don't matter. Then you're being emotionally abusive to yourself. And then you get angry with yourself or angry with the world because you're doing that to yourself. I don't want you to do that to you. I want you to go, yes, I matter. I'm going to create a life that I love. I'm going to grow myself and blossom into who I am. And I'm going to fertilize myself with my masters and good relationships and beautiful supportive community around me. So when you fertilize that, you can become who you are. And then I don't feel angry. I was angry today with my son, but I generally am not angry. All right. Lucy, I am too. But, as an activist, for me, it's like, where can I put my energy into that will make the biggest difference? Because I'm not going to waste it would it be better for me to cancel this launch and go and protest in London? I would serve far less people being just one body in London that would take me 2 hours to get to, that I could get coronavirus, then I couldn't actually serve you. So I would far rather spend, I was up at 7 this morning. I worked all through the day. I had 10 minutes outside doing some Qigong in the rain, because I got really tired at 5 o'clock going, I don't know how I'm going to actually wake up for the call. And I did Qigong in the rain and got myself energized, and then came back and carried on working until 7 because there was so much to do before the call. So I'm putting my energy into the things that matter, that I know where I can make a difference in. Because otherwise my activism is kind of wasted. One guy said to me is that activism is about activating change. So I always think, where in the world can I activate the most change? People who've had abuse are incredible human beings. They have amazing resilience. They've gone through so much and they've survived. So when they have healed and turned their lives around, oh my God, the huge things that they can do, it's incredible. So that's what I want to do. I want to help those people transform. And I bet there's some way that you can do that too. So don't want you to waste your anger, because it's such a gift. Yes, Sana, you do wonderful writing when you're angry. Okay. Okay, so wait, I have to get my note out to make sure I get your name right. There it is. I've put my note here ready for you. Ekayite. says, whenever I lose it, I feel guilty for days afterwards. So there's a difference between like just exploding your anger everywhere and channeling your anger into creating transformation. So my son went to the shops today and then bought sweets, lots of sweets, and lied, because when I said to him, I've got a feeling you bought something. No, I didn't. And then he said, oh, I bought some eggs, but I'll share them. So I went up into his room and I found that he'd bought masses of sweets. And then what will happen is he'll eat them all in one day and then he'll get sick. And I don't want to get sick while I'm running this workshop for you. So I was really angry. And I said, I don't like being lied to. I don't like you taking with it. I said, you're welcome to buy stuff for yourself, but just ask me. It's my money. And then he said, okay, I was wrong. I can understand how violated you are, and I'm really sorry. So I've said, while I'm on this call, you will write down what you've done, and you will write down what you're going to do to put it right. But the trick for me is that, and I don't feel guilty because my anger is genuine. I feel violated. I feel betrayed. But what he needs to do now is create a solution. And so when I finish the call, he'll come down with his list and go, okay, this is what I'm going to do to put it right. It might be that he goes to the shop and gets a refund for them all. It might be that he says, I can have one a week and you can keep it and I won't do that again. You know, who knows what it will be. But the trick with anger is you don't want to be destroying somebody. You want to be sharing your anger to create a solution so that you are honored, not destroying others to flood your anger and dump it on them so you feel powerful. So can you hear the subtle difference? One is utilizing the energy of anger to create change. The other is using your anger for power to destroy others so you feel better. If you're doing it that way, you'll feel guilty afterwards. If you're doing it to create change and solutions, you'll feel a healthy level of empowerment, because not only have you empowered you, you've honored the other people. So we'll look at that a bit more in the boundaries on Friday. But that's distinction and anger that's really, really important. And it's hard for us when we've been violated in childhood, where maybe you had an angry mother or an alcoholic father who would just be berating and attacking. Then that's the programming that you had, that when you get angry, you just fall into that trap of repeating the cycle. And it takes learning how to get safe, processing your anger, understanding what you need, and expressing it in a way that honors them but creates change. Can you see how many little steps there are in that? It's not like overnight you're going to get it and you're never going to be violating in your anger again. No, you had it for like however many years at home. You had that flooding anger at you. And so when you get angry, you're like, oh, how do I deal with anger? Oh, it's like that. So you have to learn the little steps, noticing the whispers of when you get angry. I often say in my group, if you don't notice the whispers, it will become a monster and hit you. And then it will be enraged. So if you notice the whispers, that's one skill, is noticing underneath. And I did notice the other day and I said, hey, I'm just wondering, are you taking things when you go to the shops? Because I'm okay with you getting stuff for you. I just want you to, when you call me from the shops, to tell me and ask me what it is. And if it feels right in my body, I'll say yes. And so I knew, I could feel intuitively that he wasn't. And then he was like, no, I'm not. I was right. So that's one still, is being aware of the whisper that there's something that's not okay for you. And if you deal with it then you don't build up into the fury flooding. And then the next step is, if it grows a little bit, then processing it. Wow, I'm angry. What is this about? Where did I get violated? Hey, I just realized, oh no, that's not showing. I just looked at the other screen and I was like, can you see me looking sideways? No. So then that processing the anger is important. And then afterwards, looking at what is it that I need, and empathizing with the anger first before what I need. And then what do I need and how can I express it in a way that I'll create the solution that's honoring for me and them. All those are little steps. And each one of those is a skill that you can learn. So because you flood somebody doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It just means you don't have those skills yet of expressing anger. And so as you learn the skills, you won't flood people in a negative way, and then it won't be violating and you won't feel guilty. It's not your fault that you don't know that, but hopefully it will become your choice to learn to do it differently. Okay. So, Rosemary, that's beautiful to hear that I've shaved years off. Each nugget of information is a jewel in a treasure box. That's so beautiful to hear. I want to screenshot that. I'll take off your name. Let me know if that's okay. I want to screenshot that. So, I've got a little thing in my phone that if I'm ever having a bad day, then I can look at that and remind myself of why I do what I do. And then it inspires me to carry on. So your sharing of how this is helping you and what insights you're gaining just really fill up my love tank and make me feel that what I'm doing is worthwhile. So I'm really grateful to those of you who take the time to go, yay, this is how it's helping, and thank you. And when you do that, keep it, don't disclose anything about yourself, because then I can just screenshot it and keep it or share it. And then it makes me feel good because other people go, yay, look at what you're doing. And I'm like, yeah, it's so good. It really makes the work worthwhile. Thank you, Rosemary. I appreciate that. So Lucy said, it makes so much sense. I do get angry when I'm not being true to myself. Yes, I feel that too. Like, for instance, for me, I live in a very, very social village, and there are lots of events, so many, and you get invited to so many things. So I'm quite enjoying lockdown because I'm quite a hermit, because I like to do this work. This just brings me a lot of joy. And like, if I have a choice between doing a therapy session with my beautiful Restore members or going to a party, I will often, I'd rather do a therapy session because it's deep and it's beautiful and I love them so much, than going to a party of small talk. But if I go to a party of small talk and I don't feel like I'm being true to myself, and then I can feel itchy and inside of myself. But sometimes I'll go, oh, they're my friends, and I'll go and I'm just like, oh God, why did I do that? So I way prefer deep, intimate, connected conversation. And so when I'm not being true to myself, I can feel a bit itchy and inside. So I'm afraid of my anger. Ekayite, I can get that. And I used to be afraid. Do you know how afraid I was of my anger? I was scared to leave the house because I was petrified that I would explode and I couldn't control my anger, and that I would embarrass myself and embarrass my children in public because I would get so angry. Sometimes, like one day, I thought, I'm going to actually count how many times I flip out in anger. And one day I counted 15, and another day I counted 22. At that point in my life, I was so ashamed of myself. I was scared to leave the house because I couldn't trust that I wouldn't erupt. Because I didn't know how to deal with anger. Because when I was growing up, if my mother was angry, she would just smash my head against a wall. Where are the skills in that? I can't walk around smashing people's heads every time. Can you imagine that? You see somebody, a pedestrian walking somewhere, and you just kind of smash their head. Can't do that, can you, in real life? That just doesn't work. So I didn't have any skill for dealing with my anger at all. And I had to do a lot of work on myself to get to the place where I was safe to walk around in public, because I didn't know when I was going to flip out. And one day I did flip out in front of one of my friends when my son disappeared. He had come out of school and he was just like a little, which I now realize, he has autism. And so one of the things of autism is they run away a lot. And I didn't realize this. And he would often run away. It was just a frequent thing, run into the street. He ran away from childminders. It was just so often that I couldn't find where he was because he would run away. And I got very good at staying calm, but one day we had to get somewhere, and then he came out and I shouted in front of my friend, who's the most sweet, gentle person, and I was so ashamed of myself. And she was, thankfully, I've got better at choosing loving, healthy friends. She didn't shame me at all. She just said, "It makes sense. You're so angry. That was so scary. Let me give you a hug." And it just sort of made my shame evaporate. And she still remembers that. Every now and again we've spoken about anger. She doesn't get like that at all. She's never been like that. She's just a very sweet, gentle, loving, empathetic person. She's such a darling. And that, I now can trust myself to go into conversations. And if I get really triggered if somebody is emotionally abusive in front of me, to kids or to partners. But now I don't lose it in my anger. I will just say, I'm just curious if you noticed what you did there. And they'll go, "Did what?" "Well, the way you were speaking to her. Just wondered what was going on for you." So I'm a bit better at not losing it, but I will challenge people. I'm quite fearless of going, "That behavior is not acceptable. Are you aware of what you're doing?" But I don't lose my anger and start insulting them or being vindictive. That I don't do anymore, because I know that's destructive. But I will be proactive in my anger to communicate my values and my activism and what's important to me. So, like, for instance, if somebody's racist or denying racism, I will stand up and go, "I am anti-racist, and this is why what you're saying is unacceptable, and this is what we need to shift into." I'll be very clear about that. All right. So it says, "This has helped even during this session. My two were arguing, and I've been able to share with them in a calm manner how their arguments trigger me. My usual behavior is to join in with shouting." Oh boy, do I know that one. Instead of calmly spoken to them and diffused the situation. That is so, so, so fabulous. I'm so proud of you. And it's really hard, and I think often that happens because I know maybe it's not that for you, but for me, I was so trapped as like an unmet child in myself. Like the other day I said to somebody, like I did all the contracts for my program, and I got a lawyer and created the program. And I was like, wow, I feel like an adult. I just felt before like I was a child, just sort of playing. Now I feel like an adult. I've got an actual contract. This is amazing. And that's kind of like that when we're dealing with our kids. Like we feel like we're a child trying to navigate their arguments, but when we feel so small inside. And so to become adult is like working quite rationally about what we're going to create here and how we're going to create that effectively. Whereas a child is just kind of impulsive and non-functioning in the way that we want to function. And so to grow up and mature in our emotions is to go, no, that is destructive from my childhood. And I'm not going to do that to myself or to others anymore. I'm going to learn the skills of what to do. And, in the program that we have all those little skills of how to process your emotions, how to get safe. So we've broken them down into tiny little skills so you can just focus. Some people take one video and just keep doing that video for like 3 weeks until they just practice that and they can, like, I did this today. Yay, I've done it. And we all cheer and celebrate them. So, whatever skill it is that this is what I need to do next, then you just focus on that until you get it. Okay, so Karen said she used to flip out in anger. Getting angry, anger gets a bad rap. Anger is a beautiful, beautiful emotion when it's channeled in a healthy way. It's transformative, it's incredible, it's energizing. But it can be harmful when it's destructive, and it becomes proactively destructive to destroy somebody's soul of going, you're useless, awful, pathetic, I hate you. That is toxic. But when it's used of, this is what I need, this is what I want to see, this is how I feel, this is the solution I'm creating in the world, then that's beautiful and healthy. It gives you courage and it can fight for what's right in the world. So for me, I'm quite excited by the things that are happening in the world, because it means that there's an uprising of anger for people who've gone, I am done with racism. I'm done with being treated badly, and I will make sure that you can hear that. So I feel excited that there is this anger in the world. I'm not too sure. I mean, you could, but you go to jail. Yeah, jail hasn't been something that I necessarily wanted to go to. The one thing that I did think, though, is jail would be quite nice for me, because you would get food every day. You just sit in a cell, so you could be a hermit. And then if you could get hold of like just an empty computer, and then I could just write books all day. And then I could release them from prison and serve the world. And I would just, because I don't enjoy cooking, so somebody would cook for me and just go out and cook and then go back and work. So sometimes I have dreamt of prison. And then I thought, maybe I wouldn't actually like that. Maybe it's better to set up my life that I find a way to have other people cook for me and I can still write and serve the world, but have a bit of freedom. So, okay. It's an absolute pleasure for sharing my own journey. I think that what the difference for me is that in sharing my own journey, I can help other people to see, that to normalize the impacts of trauma, because I had just such a full range of trauma. And I've had all the worst things of post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, chronic fatigue, anger issues, toxic relationships, desperation, just so many different things that I had. Then I can be a lot more understanding of what other people are going through, because I can meet them where they are at, because I've been there. And I don't follow the school of sort of therapy or coaching that I need to be a blank slate, whatever it is, because I think that in me sharing my story, you can hear, gosh, she's gone through a lot and she's come through to the other side where she's vaguely functional. So are there any more questions that anybody has before we end? I will quickly get up for you. Where's this worksheet 2? I will quickly get up for this so that you can find again how do I do this now? Okay, there. You can find the places to share. What do I do now with that? Okay, you can share publicly in the contest there, and then it helps other people to hear about it. And then it helps me on my mission of serving 2 million people. But totally okay. Don't feel any pressure about doing that if it feels wrong. For you, share privately W2S for workshop 2 sharing for the S. So tell me if you have any other questions. Otherwise, we will end. So tell me. I will shut that down because I'm sure you've seen the link, and then let me know what questions that you have. Otherwise, you can share your questions in the little group. Let me see if I can find the banner. Chink, chink, chink. I'm sure that I had a banner yesterday of the question thread. Oh, I had that little ticker that Janet told me. That is much too long. So there's your questions. So rialufu.com/questions. And anybody who hasn't signed up, I want to hear from you. All right. Pleasure, Lucy. And thanks for joining me tonight, everybody. I appreciate you. And for anybody who you might be listening now and you've only just jumped in and you think, oh my God, I'm so behind and I haven't done enough. And the mission of this workshop is to become your own best friend. Is saying to yourself, you're useless, you haven't done enough, being your own best friend. No, it's not. Being your own best friend is, right now, you're busy with life and you matter, and I want you to make some time for you. And you could listen as you're playing with your kids put it in your pocket, and you don't need to see me. You can just listen, or you can ask in your intuition, where should I listen to it? Okay, minute number 34 I need to hear, or minute number 55 for 5 minutes, and just listen to that. So you can do that. And I think that what I'm doing, this is very clever. What I'm doing is after this, I'm going to download it, and then I'm going to put it on a website. So until Friday next week, you'll be able to watch it, but it will be like a YouTube thing or something that you can then times by 2, so you can watch it in a quicker time. So I'll sound like a chimpanzee. Is it a chimpanzee? Or no, a chipmunk. So I'll sound like a chipmunk going through quickly. But if you want to watch it as a fast rate, then I'll create that. But we might just give that to you on Friday. I'll see what my VA can do tomorrow. But maybe we'll do it like that, and then you can watch the videos on speed if you want to go through them. But they'll just be available till Friday, because we find that if we just leave them on going forever, people don't watch them. And I've put a lot of work into creating these. It's been weeks and weeks of designing the workshops, creating the slides and all the tech behind it. And I really want you to watch them, because I know it will make a big difference in your life. And so that's why I'm putting the time limit on. So next Friday, they're going to come down. So watch them by then. All right. All right, come and share what you're gaining from it, what you're loving about it, so that it fills me up too. And when you are sharing what you're getting from it, you also reinforce it in yourself of going, this is what I'm doing, well done for me. And then you're cheerleading yourself and seeing the transformation in yourself. So then you feel great about yourself too. So it teaches you how to appreciate yourself and me. And that's a good quality to have as your own best friend. All right, everybody. Come and share in those groups and in those posts, either on the contest post or W2S. I'm sending you so much love, and thanks so much for being here. Bye. The mouse is not letting me say goodbye. Let me use the other one. There we go. All right. Lots of love. Bye.